I just got to go see the brand new film from Ryan Coogler that everybody's been talking about called Sinners. Of course, Ryan Coogler is the same director behind the Black Panther movies and the Creed films. He's a director that I'm a pretty big fan of, although I haven't really understood a lot of the hype around him. Like, he hasn't made anything truly remarkable outside of established IP like Creed and Black Panther, but I did really enjoy the second Black Panther movie, especially considering the circumstances Ryan Coogler was under, having to make that film without his lead star, who died in real life. So you had to sort of create a movie that both honored the character and the person of Chadwick Boseman, and I thought the movie ended up being extremely beautiful, having some really well-done performances. And I don't think he gets enough credit for that film. But Sinners is this brand new sort of horror thriller, big budget Warner Brothers film, a film that I cannot believe Warner Brothers actually gave the green light to and allowed to be made the way that it was. This movie truly, in some ways, is a miracle, the fact that it exists in modern Hollywood. In saying that, I do have some issues with it. I did not think this movie was as perfect as some other people are saying. It's not a 5 out of 5. Because of that, I found it to be a little bit disappointing. I went into this movie hoping it was going to be the first great movie of this year that has just been so sort of miserable for film, and instead it ended up just being a very good film that is probably going to be a little forgettable in the long scheme of things. Yet again, this will just be my opinion before everybody gets crapped out over this video and this review, because my opinion is just what I felt about a movie. You can love this movie and think it's the greatest thing of all time, and guess what? You're right. And guess what? I'm also right, because we're both allowed to have our own emotions about films and TV shows. Isn't that an amazing thing? It should be, at least. So this movie stars Michael B. Jordan, who plays these two twins, Stack and Smoke. They're actually gangsters who are coming home from Chicago back to Mississippi, where they are trying to start their own sort of music club. And on their first night of opening this music club and bringing together their community and their culture and trying to just manage things, they come under attack of vampires, and this movie becomes sort of a vampire thriller in a way that's very different than what the trailers presented. The first thing I do want to say is the trailers to this movie and the marketing altogether I thought was kind of ass. I thought the trailers made this movie look horrible and generic. The marketing for this movie was really just not representative of what this film actually is. This is sort of a high filmmakers, auteur filmmakers, gigantic vampire project. It's not a typical sort of Blumhouse vampire horror movie that you would get from that studio, which is what the trailer presented. The trailer presented a very generic sort of cookie-cutter version of this genre, and that's not what this is. If you go into the film expecting that, you're probably going to come out disappointed. Instead, what you're getting is high cinema vampires, baby, which we just also kind of got with Nosferatu. First things first, I want to talk about the performances. Michael B. Jordan is amazing in this movie as both characters that he played. This is probably my favorite version of sort of one actor playing twin brothers or twins that I've ever seen in a movie. I think he does a great job really playing two very different characters. I will say the characters are a little sort of tropey and generic. You have Smoke, who's this very serious, badass, I take everything serious type of guy, and then you have Stack, who's a loose end, and you never know what he's gonna say, and he's a little more slick and cool, and it's a little tropey, but it works, and he does a good job portraying both characters. I enjoyed it. You also have Haley Steinfeld, who's a big part of the marketing in this movie. She plays a very important character. I'm not gonna really spoil what she is and what she represents, because I didn't really understand who she was from watching the trailers, which I guess is a good thing. There's also some stuff the trailers spoiled about her character, which I didn't like, but I'm not gonna tell you anything. All I'm gonna say is she does a great job in this movie. I wish some of her character arc was a little bit more fulfilled. I'll talk about that in a little bit when it comes to the writing, but she does herself an amazing job. You have a really good supporting cast as well. Delroy Lindo is amazing, as he always is, and I just really enjoyed the cast here. They're all doing their best to really bring this movie together. From a direction point of view, I think Ryan Coogler does an amazing job. This whole film looks wonderful. It's shot completely on IMAX cameras, so it kind of looks like a Christopher Nolan movie, because he's the only other psychopath in Hollywood that's willing to shoot an entire movie on IMAX. But there's a lot of creative different things that Ryan Coogler does with the camera, a lot of long oneers, a lot of just interesting transitions. It was really fun watching the cinematography of this movie and the direction of Ryan Coogler. You can definitely see this is a director who knows what the hell he's doing. This movie also has an amazing score done by Ludwig Göransson, who is the same guy who works on Christopher Nolan's newest films. The score here is very important. The film very much is about music and culture and how culture affects music, and the music is very prevalent here. The score is beautiful. It's very much a Western theme mixed with some other genres. It feels a lot like the score of Paris, Texas, which is one of my favorite scores of all time. Ludwig is one of the best composers in Hollywood at the moment, and this score definitely should get some attention come the end of the year for award season. It's one of the best scores I've heard in quite some time. The music in general in this movie is really beautiful, almost to the point where I wish this movie was a musical. There's a lot of long sequences of characters just singing and dancing, and those are my favorite scenes in the film. Kinda wish there was more of that. So what are my issues with this film? I do have a few. The first things first, this movie's got a weird structure to it. Its first act is very long, and the film takes a very long time to actually establish its characters and sort of the world that it's set into before it gets into the vampire genre, which I actually really appreciated. The first act of this movie is my favorite part of this film. I loved these characters. I loved sort of the situations they were in. I almost didn't need vampires to be invested and immersed with these characters and their conflicts. But they spend so much time on it that by the time the vampire stuff actually starts, there isn't as much runtime left to truly stretch that out and do a lot of interesting things with it. I feel like the vampire stuff didn't last long enough. It's introduced, it starts, it's very exciting, it's a little scary at times, and then the movie just ends. It ends very quickly. It wraps up the conflict extremely quick. It almost feels like somewhere there's a 3-hour cut of this movie that they forced Ryan Coogler to cut down, and he decided to cut most of the third act down. I don't know if that's true, but that's just the vibe that I got from watching this movie. It felt like the third act wanted to be longer and was forced to be shorter. Yet again, I don't know if that's true. There are also some weird tonal shifts in this movie, sometimes where the script doesn't really know exactly what kind of movie it wants to be. If it wants to be this super serious Christopher Nolan type vampire movie, or if it wants to be like a Tarantino sort of slick dialogue and fun character. Like, there's times it just alters between those different tones and those different vibes so fast that it kind of broke the immersion for me a little bit. And there are some sequences that feel a little out of place as well. Some sequences that, if you've watched the newest episode of The Studio, or the episode from a couple weeks ago where they forced Ron Howard to cut a massive sequence in his movie that was so sort of surrealist and weird and crazy because it just kind of broke the immersion of the movie, I felt like there's a sequence like that in this film. There's blatantly in the middle a very, very large musical sequence that's beautifully shot and beautifully done, but I just didn't think it fit in the movie, and I'm sure there's people that are going to tell me I'm wrong, and it's the best sequence of the movie, and it's what makes the themes of the movie make sense. Maybe that's true. I don't know. For me personally, it just broke the immersion a little bit. I kind of was laughing at parts of it, and I don't know if that's what they intended. The vampires, I will say, are really cool, and I won't say freaky. I mean, this movie's not terrifying. If you're looking for a scary movie, this movie's not really a horror flick. It's more of a thriller that really has some really strong stuff to say thematically, but the vampires, the way they're done, the way their vibe is, and of course Jack O'Connor, who plays the main one here, the main bad guy, they're very creepy, and the way the music evolves around them, also in comparison to all of our main characters here, I think is so cool. There's a musical sequence involving the vampires in the film that's probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. The way it's shot, the way the sound design is done, the way the characters are singing, everything about it is just a vibe, and easily my favorite sequence of the whole film, and I kind of wanted more of that. There are some weird rule-breaking things with the vampires, like they sort of establish in the middle of the movie what they are and what the rules around them are, how to kill them, what they're able to do. Like, they establish this one point that they're not able to enter this bar in this area that they're in unless they're invited. It's very similar to, if you've ever watched the TV show From, right, where you have all these monsters lurking outside that are taunting the people on the inside, and they can't get in the inside unless they're allowed in, pretty much. And that's kind of established here, but then later on in the film, they sort of break that rule and some other rules associated with the vampires that I just didn't really love. There's also a lot of plot armor in this movie, right? There's some scenes where a character walks outside the bar into the vampires, they're immediately eaten and destroyed and killed, and just no time wasted, just immediately taken down. And then there's other points in the movie where, like, a main character is taken by a vampire, and the vampire decides, I'm gonna monologue to you for a very long time. So long that it gives enough time for the other character to sneak behind me and You know, that sort of bullshit that I just hate in film or TV or any kind of writing. There's some of that here. The ending of the movie is also really weird. Not that it's bad. I think the ending of this film is beautiful. They just hit it in the credits, which is a strange decision. So the movie ends, and there's like about 1.5 minutes worth of credits before the ending actually plays, which I know is not that long, but it was enough time that a good amount of people in my theater cleared out and completely missed the ending of the movie. Because after that 1.5 minutes, there's a good long scene that is the conclusion of the film. And if you miss that scene, you're missing probably the biggest moment of the entire movie, and it's a beautiful ending. Why they made that choice, I don't know. I thought it was stupid. And altogether, this movie just felt like it was missing something for me personally. I don't know what it is. I can't ultimately put my finger on it, but one of those things that just would have made this film sort of elevate itself from being good, maybe even great, to being masterful, something that I'm truly going to remember. and it just wasn't there. I ended up walking out going, I enjoyed that, I had some problems with it, and I'm probably gonna forget about it within a week. Which is a little bit disappointing. Granted, all the reviews are saying this is one of the best films of the decade, and I don't know, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm just depressed and nothing's going to make me happy at this point. Who knows? Who knows, man? Life is... it can be tough sometimes. But altogether, I'm going to give Sinners a 3.5 out of 5. It's a really good time. I definitely recommend all of you going to check this one out because I think a lot of you are probably going to see this as more of a 4.5 out of 5, maybe even a 5 out of 5, and I'm probably in the minority of opinion, giving it sort of a good review, not a masterful review. So, yeah, make up your own mind. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more notifications. I'll see you in the next one.